Many things are said by people with and without disabilities concerning autism. As a person with autism or who is autistic, depending on who you ask, what do you think people really need to know about people on the spectrum?
I always say that the autism spectrum is just as big as the human spectrum. There's a lot of stigma and stereotypes out there, perpetuated mainly by the media and old school recognition of what autism was back in the day when it wasn't so commonplace. But these days, anybody and everybody, no matter how they seem to function or how they might look or behave, can be autistic. And oftentimes when people meet me for the first time, they ask me what I do for work. They ask me how I got into that field, and I tell them I'm autistic. 50% of the time they say, no way, I would have never guessed. Or, do you think you're still autistic? Or, do you think you're misdiagnosed? And it's getting to the point where it's like death by a million cuts, because people, basically, I out myself and then they question if I'm telling the truth about myself. And I can't think of another minority outside of the trans population that really has to prove that, yes, I am telling the truth about myself upon first meeting somebody for the first time, right? And all that happens because of what people think autism is. Now, autism, when we think of autism, it's a concept, right? It's not real world pragmatic viewpoint. So when you see me and people are surprised that I'm autistic because I don't look autistic, I'm not behaving autistically right now, that juxtaposes against what they already think autism is, based on what they see in the media and what they see in interviews, so on and so forth. So all that to say that I wish people would treat me like a human first and really not pay so much attention to the fact that I have autism. Yes, if you want to inquire about how you can help my autistic struggles, go for it. But we all need decency, we all need compassion, we all need people we can count on and we need around us to feel safe. And a lot of that goes out the window though when people think that they just need to know about autism in order to help me. Because when they think they know how to help and they really don't know how to help, because they might know how to help someone with autism, but their autism might not be my autism, right? So when they think they know how to help and they try to help, but it doesn't help me, that can actually hurt. So, sometimes I wish I didn't even, sometimes I wish people didn't know I have autism, because I think honestly, in my moments of struggle, people would be able to be a little bit more laid back, relaxed, more comfortable, because if you have no personal connection to autism, when you say I'm autistic, that does make people uncomfortable because they feel like they're in over their head.
There seems to be disagreement between people who use person-first language and says person with autism is identity first language. An autistic person, what's your thoughts about the whole debate about autism and changing the DSM for book to eliminate Asperger's syndrome as an official diagnosis?
The only thing that matters in all the debate over terminology and what to call people who have the autism is respect, I don't care what you call me as long as you call me with respect. Now, I can say I have autism, I can say I'm autistic, you can say the same thing about me, but in the end, I just want to be known as Russell, right? I honestly, don't care for calling myself autistic or having autism. I think if I wasn't a public figure, I would very seldom tell people I have autism. It's somewhat of a private experience for me. It is my entire life. So when we talk about, the debate on terminology and trying to cancel one side of our community that thinks it should be people first and the other side that thinks it should be identity first, we start fighting amongst ourselves, and that is the biggest way to alienate any future allies outside of our community. And plus, if people in our own community are walking on eggshells about, oh my gosh, what should I call this person who has a diagnosis of autism? How do you think people outside of the autism community are going to feel when we welcome them in, hoping they can help us? They're going to be very hesitant because they don't want to get confronted about the wrong terminology they're using. Again, a lot of people sometimes will say, oh, you're disabled, or you might be high functioning. There are outdated terms that some people still use. I don't get mad at them when they meet me and they say that. I use that as an opportunity to educate, not yell at them. If you want to change somebody's mind, educate them. Don't yell at them, because when you yell at them, the person's going to double down. There's just going to be more rigidity when we come to bumping heads over this really just unimportant issue of terminology.
Let's talk about symbols. Many people love the puzzles pieces. From Autism Speaks, other people say Autism Speaks is evil and they hate the puzzle pieces. And everyone should like the infinity symbol. What are your thoughts about the symbols?
Symbols is a little bit trickier, right? Because symbols are kind of, they're meant for a community rather than terminology, which is basically meant for an individual. The symbol debate, I'm not big on symbols. I don't really see the need for autism to have a symbol. I understand that some do, and that's okay. And some are going to want the puzzle piece. Some are going to want the affinity loop. Other people are just going to want something completely different. I have no problem with us having that debate. But again, digging our feet in and arguing amongst ourselves when we are in the same marginalized minority, when we have our human rights stripped away from us every single day of this in this world, and we're not debating that. We're debating on the logo we want to have next to the word. I think it's very superficial and again a waste of time. We can come together and have a discussion about it, have a dialogue about it. I like to say disagreement is a first step towards progress, but the only way to get to progress is to talk it out. Again, not yell at people, not cancel each other, but let's talk it out. Let's even brainstorm maybe how we can compromise and combine the infinity loop with the puzzle piece, right? We're pretty narrow-minded in the autism community, and I get that. I am too at times. I'm black and white thinker, but we have to use our will, our reason, and our intellect to step out of that state of mind and realize that just because our experience with autism is autism for us doesn't mean that's what autism is for other people.
With all of these debates and arguments going on about language and symbols and ABA therapy within the disability community, what would you like to say to people? What is helping, is not helping?
Well, as an autistic individual, as a person with autism, I mean, there are a lot of disheartening facts about my community. We have our average lifespan is 16 years shorter than the average human in the US. It's estimated that autism prevalence in prisons is twice that of the local population. We argue a lot about things such as terminology, the logos that, can be put on the back burner. What we really need to focus on in our community as autistic individuals, as disabled individuals, is our human rights, our civil rights. We have to fight every damn day just to get half as much as what other people take for granted. We are marginalized by a society that looks down upon us, that pities us, that doesn't expect us to amount to much. And then when we do, they're taken aback, like, wow, I never thought you could do that. We deserve more respect from society. And right now, we're not even giving respect to ourselves because we're fighting and yelling at each other about terminology, about logos, when we need to be in this together to better the lives of everybody with autism out there. I had to drop out of public school in the 5th grade. I've been inpatient 3 times in my life. After 20 years of having no friends, I still have a lot of difficulty making friends, and I can't even get any supports from my state or my government because I look like I'm able-bodied, right? Russell has autism, but it doesn't disable him enough. We need to work on fighting this ableism that comes from society. And as long as we're talking about terminology and logos, society is going to look down upon us and say, yeah, those guys are just being immature, fighting about nonsense, and we're going to continue to oppress them and, see if they ever do want to speak up and fight back. Because we're not fighting back when we're fighting with each other.
We'll cover a lot of topic here, and you are not only give your keynote address today, but speak around the words. If you could bring all of the things you're talking about together, and then tell the words, listen to what is really important to know about people with this disability. What single message would you say to the words?
We don't need to be fixed. Society often wants to swoop in and save the day for us, or help eliminate our issues, or help us get rid of certain feelings like bitterness and resentment towards the outside world after we get treated very poorly by it. None of that needs to be fixed. It needs to be nurtured, talked about, and transmuted into passion and into purpose. On our difficult days, we tend to feel our weakest, but we actually have to be our strongest on those difficult days to get through them. Never underestimate the power of the disability community. We go through so many invisible invisible struggles that people aren't aware of. Me having an invisible disability, 95% of the people who encounter me don't even know I have a disability, right? So I don't get asked if I need any support. If I had a broken leg, people would come up and ask me if I need support. It takes a strong spirit and a strong soul to go through each and every day on your own, battling your way through life when you get very little support in this world. And if there's one thing the disability community has over every other community, it's perseverance. The most underrated human skill, perseverance. Bit by bit, row by row, you're going to continue moving forward. And you might not get there as soon as the other people without disabilities, but we will get there. We might need to take our time, but we will get there. We always do. So never lose faith in our community, because we're one of the strongest communities out there.